Hey y'all, happy Monday. Today is Monday, June 8th, and there's a word that God wants me to come on here and talk about, and I'm just going to go ahead and do it. So, I honestly don't even know where to start. So I'm going to just start here. So, the different seasons that God has us in, He builds us and He gives us skills and He protects us. He gives us shields. He gives us defense mechanisms. He gives us tools to help us in that season, right? And sometimes those seasons are longer than others, or sometimes you're in multiple different seasons and you tend to need those tools and those skills with each season. But there comes a time where God calls you into a season and you don't need those tools anymore. And a lot of times you don't even know that you don't need those tools because that's all you know. So for instance, a lot of us have been in seasons of isolation where God has called for us to leave our families, leave our friends, leave everything that we know and start all the way over and build a new family and build a new team. And in that, I feel like some of us, if you have been in isolation so many different times and you have met people and then you've had to leave people and then you've met people and you've had to leave people, no matter how eager you are to do God's work and God's will, you will struggle with maintaining relationships. You will struggle with getting close to people. You will struggle with building a long-term support system because you will always feel like God will call you away from them, right? There are seasons where God calls you to depend heavily on yourself and you can't ask anybody for anything. You can't depend on anybody for anything. And so when He calls you into a season of needing to depend on others, you will not know how to do that. You will not know how to ask for help. You will not know how to ask somebody for support. You will not even know how to let people know that you are not okay. I am a person who God has called me into plenty of seasons of isolation where I could not talk to people about stuff. I could not lean on anybody. And what that has taught me to do, that alongside of what my childhood was, it has taught me not to depend on anybody else. It has taught me to always be the strongest person in any circumstance I'm in. So guess what that has taught me how to do? Not ask for help. Guess what that has taught me not to do? Lie when people ask, are you okay? I'll say, yeah, I'm fine. Whole time I am going through something terrible. Whole time I am not okay. The truth will be I am not okay. But because of those seasons of isolation and those seasons of handling everything by myself or just letting God handle it, I have just learned how to build up that wall and not be truthful with people about being okay and not being okay. And it reminds me of that analogy people talk about when they say God is going to send somebody to save you. It's somebody is in a boat and they're in the water and their boat breaks down. And so they're praying to God, God, please send me some help. And so a fisherman comes by and they say, hey, let me help you. And they say, no, God's going to send somebody. So then the fisherman goes. And then somebody else in the boat comes and they're like, hey, I'm trying to save you. I want to save you. And the person says, no, God is going to save me. And then that person leaves. So one more person in the boat comes and they say, hey, I'm going to save you. I'm here to save you. And that person says, no, God is going to save me. And that boat leaves and that person dies. And when they get to heaven, they ask God, I asked you to come save me. I knew you were going to save me. Why didn't you save me? And God said, I sent 3 different people to save you. And you turned them all down. You told them all no. And so that's how I am. Like, whenever somebody gives me a word, whenever somebody tells me something, whenever somebody tries to support me, I am very quick to turn it down because I'm looking for God to do it. Not even knowing or understanding that word that person just gave me that they turned down was something that I needed to hear, or that person who was coming to support me, that was something, or that was a person that God was sending into my life, but I didn't know it because I'm used to doing everything on my own and I just blocked it out. And so I can count several situations or even several people, like for instance with this real estate stuff, my best friend does it. My best friend does the real estate stuff. I've never thought to partner with her because I've always felt like I needed to do it on my own. Even when I've met people along the way, I've never thought to partner with them. I have found every reason not to partner with somebody because I wanted to do it on my own. Not because it has nothing to do with me not wanting to share no money with nobody or nothing. It's just me wanting to do it on my own. I've just have that in my head now because I've done so much on my own that I just feel like I have to do everything on my own. The current situation that I'm in, which was specifically about my last word, is I'm moving out of the place that I'm in now, and I didn't know where I was going. And so I was upset because I was struggling, thinking me and my child are going to be homeless. What am I supposed to do? Why are we going through this? Why would we be going through this? Why would this be our experience? And I remember now in hindsight, before this situation even happened, I was talking to my dad about something, and I ended up just venting to him, and I was crying. I said, y'all think I want to be the strong person all the time? Y'all think that I want to be a person that when somebody comes and tries to give me advice that I turn it down and I don't listen? Y'all think I want to be like that, be that much of a control freak? So I don't know how to let anybody help me. I don't know how to accept anybody else's word, because if I don't make the final decision, me and my son are going to fall. So I don't know how to let anybody else's wisdom in. I don't know how to let anybody else's support in. My family, again, I'm used to being the strongest person in my family. I'm used to being the one who knows it all. Not know it all in the sense where I don't want to listen to nobody else, but knows it all in the sense of I take care of my son. I've been out on my own since 2017. I take care of my son. I don't have any assistance from anybody else. So when it comes to the final decision that we have to go off of, it has to be my decision. I don't have anybody to come save me. If I fall, and I said that in that scenario, when I used to live in Georgia, when my family needed a place to stay, everybody came to me. If my house was to burn down, I didn't have nobody else's house to go to. I didn't have nobody's couch who I could sleep on. I was the strong person. I was that person that opened their home to everybody else. I didn't have that. And so it taught me to just always make sure that I could rely on myself and not look to the people around me. And so I was crying to my dad, and I was like, y'all think I want to be the strong person? Y'all think I want to be that person who is bossy or who just takes charge? I'm tired of being in charge. I'm tired of having to be the strong one. I live out of survival. I'm on survival mode 25/8. If I don't handle this, it's not going to get handled. If I don't handle this, we're going to fail. We're going to fall. That's how I live on a consistent basis. And let me tell you, that is no way to live. Because when it's time for you to have support, you're not going to know how to receive it, and you're going to run it off. And I'm talking about business partnerships, love, friendships. You're not going to know how to have it because you're going to be used to doing everything on your own. So, when it came to this situation of me not knowing where we was going to go, I thought about living in my car first before I ever asked anybody for help. That's how bad it was. And the only reason why I even asked for anybody to help is because I don't want my son to live in a car. I've lived in a car before. I've had to do that before in 2017 before I got my own apartment. I had to do that. I don't want that for my son. And my love for my son is what caused me to open my mouth and ask anybody for help. That's crazy. It wasn't even for me. It was for him. So I had to start asking around, and I didn't get any yeses at first. It was people who had to let me figure out this, let me figure out that, and stuff like that, which I understand. I'm not mad at nobody for that, because as somebody who let people live in the house with her, it is a lot rearranging your schedule and rearranging your routine and how you live to have somebody live in your house. It don't matter how short term it is. It is a lot. And that's why I never wanted to live with anybody. And I always wanted to be the person who let somebody live with her. So I struggled with getting help, but I finally talked to an aunt. And it's so funny because when she initially messaged me, I'm gonna read the Facebook message to y'all, but she almost made me cry immediately. She said, I said to her, hey auntie, how are you? I have a question. She said, hey baby girl, how are you? Hope you all are well. You are always welcome. And I said, you finna make me cry. And it's finna make me cry now reading that, because God knew I needed to hear that. God knew I needed to hear, I want to say my yes, but my yes. He knew I needed to hear that. He knew I needed to hear somebody be as open to helping me as I am to helping others. I needed to hear that, because it is a lot. Nobody knows or understands how much it took out of me to even ask anybody, to even let anybody know that I had that situation going on. It took a lot. It took everything out of me, y'all, to even let somebody know, hey, can I stay with you? I have this going on. It took a lot out of me. And my auntie said, you are always welcome. I never stayed with her before. And she just said, you are always welcome. And her message was everything that I needed. She will never know. She will never know what that means to me. And I'm not even there yet, but God knows I needed to hear that, because I was so stressed the day that I finally reached out to her. I had already been like, for some reason, I cannot get approved for an apartment. It don't matter how much money I got. I cannot get approved. So that's why I had to stay at this high apartment. I don't know if I told y'all, but I paid $3,900 a month to live here. I cannot afford this. I cannot afford this. I don't want to afford it no more. And so, yeah, the reason why I had to stay here is because when I first was moving here, I couldn't get it approved for an apartment. So I had to go with a private landlord, and instead of paying $2,400 a month, I had to pay $3,900. It worked for me because I had the money when it came to the income from me selling my house, and then when it came from the job that I was paying, that I had, I was bringing home almost $7,900 a month. So $3,900 going to the, but whatever. So I had it. I was able to do it, but I ain't gonna hold y'all. I've been trying to leave for a little minute, because what? Why am I paying that much? So I finally asked somebody. So I finally been okay, but I still been crying off and on. And because when you are on survival mode 25/8 like that, your nervous system doesn't have rest. And my ex likes to joke with me. He like, you need to relax. You need to relax. How do I relax when I have 5 different things on my brain? I'm in survival mode constantly. I can't relax. And I still been crying off and on. My auntie, this was on, when did I ask her? Why am I on this? I think I asked her on Saturday. I asked her on Saturday. I still been crying off and on, y'all. My mind and my body is still in survival mode. I don't know how to feel not having to make a decision, because I still, crazy thing about it, so I'm going to go back to Atlanta, and I'm going to stay there for about a month and a half prior to like right before my son starts school. I'm still thinking about what we're going to do in August. Girl, can you make it through the end of June? Can you make it through July before you're even thinking about August? I'm still running myself crazy trying to make sure me and my son are good. I'm having to force myself to give myself rest, to not think. But again, that's what, when you're in survival mode all the time, it is very, very tough and hard not to be in survival mode. It is strange. It is rare. You got to force yourself to calm down. So I just kind of been taking it day by day. Like, I just kind of lay around and watch TV, and I clean a little bit, and then I'll lay down, because I'm trying to calm my nervous system. I'm trying to calm my brain. I'm about to get back into counseling, because I have really, really high anxiety. And I don't even like to claim stuff like that, but the effort that it takes me to calm my mind down when it comes to making sure me and my son are good, y'all, it's not healthy. It's not healthy. That's why my weight is constantly going up and down. It's probably why I had all these health issues all this time, because I'm anxious all the time about me and my son. I just want us to be okay. I'm not anxious for us to be millionaires. I'm not anxious for us to be in a 6-bedroom, 6-bathroom house. I just want us to be stable. That's the one thing that I want for my son. And I take it very, very serious. And I'm not saying that it is people who don't, but let me tell you how serious I take it. My son and I, when I had him, I was living in an apartment. And I remember being home with a 2-week-old, and it was like 2 o'clock in the morning, and I was hearing my neighbors fight. And I'm talking about fight, y'all. I'm F this, B that, like cussing each other out. But somebody, I don't know if they was throwing stuff at the wall, like somebody throwing something, somebody ducking and it hitting the wall, or if they was pushing each other into the wall. But I looked at my 2-week-old son and I said, we cannot live like this. We can't. And it was at that day that I looked at him and I said, I just want to give him stability and security. That's why stability and security is like my 2 key words when it comes to everything in my life. Relationships, career, money, business, friendships, stability, security. That's it. You got to give me, I have to have stability and security with you. If I don't have that, it's not going to work. Because that night, it became my 2 words to describe everything that I want out of life, right? From that point forward, I started looking for a house. I had my son in the house 7 months later. I had my son when we moved into my house, my son was 7 months old. He wasn't even walking yet. I say all that to say, I go hard when it comes to making sure he has stability and security. And I stressed myself out about making sure he has security and stability. And so I kind of feel like this season, God was trying to put on me 2 different things, but one has to happen first. And he's trying to get me to put the survival mode down. He's trying to get me to put the survival mode down and to know that I can lean on people. Like there were seasons where I could not lean on people specifically because God told me not to. Not because I didn't want to, but specifically because God told me not to. But in all those seasons have back to back where God would have me not rely on people, it caused me not to look to people for nothing. I rely on my wisdom or wisdom from God. I don't rely on nobody else telling me nothing. You can't tell me nothing. And I don't like being like that. I know people think that I'm just bossy and stuff. I don't, because I've been bossy since I was little. But as an adult, I don't want to be bossy. Do y'all know the mental stress a boss has to go through? Mental and emotional and spiritual and physical stress that somebody who is a boss, who is bossy, has to go through. I don't do that for fun no more, y'all. I did that when I was younger. It was nice. It was fun to boss my siblings around. As an adult, it's not fun at all. That's why any of the jobs that I apply to, y'all, I do not apply to jobs with direct reports. And I have management experience. I will not apply to a job with direct reports because I don't enjoy being a boss. I don't enjoy bossing others around. I don't enjoy it. So, yeah, I feel like that's one of the things that he's been trying to show me, community. And, you know, honestly, it makes me think about all the businesses that God wants me to do within the community. Like, I want to buy houses and rent them out to veterans. And now with this stuff that I've been going through, I want to buy houses or be able to rent rooms out to people for short-term leases. So there's a website called PadSplit where you could like rent rooms weekly. And I feel like stuff like that is great because everybody doesn't need a long-term lease. Everybody doesn't need to sign a 12-month lease. And sometimes people don't have the money for a $1,700 rent per month, but they got the money for $800 a month because they pay $200 a week for a room. Or they have the money for $1,000 a month because they pay $250 a week for a room. People need stuff like that. We don't need a long-term thing. So it makes me want to do stuff like that. But today God dropped it on me. How can you help people in that way, but you can't even receive help from people in that way? Can you really help people without receiving help yourself? And I ain't never thought about that because, yeah, I can. At least I thought so. But that question that God asked me, it makes me wonder, like, can I truly help people to the best of my ability if I won't even receive help from people myself? Can I? I believe I can. But that question, it makes me think. And so, yeah, it's just, there's a different level of vulnerability that's needed to receive help. See, there's vulnerability that's needed when you give help, because you have to be able to understand somebody's situation. But there's a different level of vulnerability that's needed to receive help. And I'm not going to hold you. I call myself this very emotional being, this very vulnerable being. Yeah, asking for help, y'all, that has made me, so when I asked my ex for help, I asked my ex because I stay with him, but he doesn't have the capacity for it right now, and that's understandable. But I haven't talked to him since. The fact that I asked him to stay with him was too vulnerable for me. Now I don't want to talk to him no more. Now I don't want to have no relationship with him no more, because that was too vulnerable for me. That's not right for me to feel that way. But these are things that God is showing me right now. Like, look at how you feel asking somebody for help. Look at how you feel needing support from somebody. But you want to be the one who gives all the support, and you want to be it so much so that you don't know how to receive it from somebody else. You feel extra embarrassed and extra shame receiving support from somebody. You don't even know how to do it all the way. Can you say that you're ready for a marriage if you can't receive help from anybody? You can't ask somebody for help? Can you say that you're ready for marriage? Can you say that you're ready to be in a business if you can't receive help from somebody? Can you say that you're ready to expand your territory if you cannot receive help from somebody? These are all the things that I'm thinking about now. And in all honesty, because of how much shame I felt asking for help, I might not be as ready as I thought I was. I'm used to being the one that's giving help. I'm not used to being the one who receives help. It's going to take it is taking a lot out of me. It is a lot that I'm having to sit with. It is a lot that God is having to drop on me right now about me asking for help from people. I don't know the last time I asked anybody for help, y'all. Like, outside of, can you put this bed together? But I pay people to do stuff. If I ask you for help right now, I pay you. When I ask somebody, hey, can you come? When I asked the guy, when I first moved here, I asked the guy to come put my bed together and to come do my oil change, to come do this. I paid him. If I'm paying you, I don't mind asking you. If I'm not paying you, or depending on who you was, because I was going to pay my ex, but I think just because it's him, I'm struggling with the fact that I had to ask him. I don't know, y'all. I'm weird like that. I don't like having to ask for help. So now, like, our relationship, our friendship is up in the air because I don't know how to talk to that man after that. I don't know how to talk to him. I don't know how to have a conversation with him now. I just don't. So it's just, I kind of feel like for some people, it's not for everybody, but I feel like for some people, you know, God is calling you out of that isolation. God is calling you out of that season when you can't depend on people, where you can't have a community, where you can't be attached to people. I feel like he's calling some of us out of that because he's trying to build us up. And in order for him to build us up, we need the support of people around us. We need the support of trustworthy people. And if you keep living in that season of isolation, you're not going to learn how to trust people. You're not going to learn, you're not going to build long-term relationships because you're going to feel like everybody that you get close to, God is going to take away. God doesn't want us to live like that, y'all. God doesn't want us to live out of fear or live out of survival. That's not how he wants us to be. That's not who he is. And I had to talk to the lady that I'm counseling or coaching. I had to talk to her about that because, you know, so much of our journey with God is us letting things go and leaving things behind and having up these barriers and these walls with people because God is going to God only has us in people's lives for a season, and sometimes we look more to those seasonal relationships than those long-term relationships. We look more at, when God brings a person into our life, we automatically think that's a temporary person. That's not a long-term person. This is for a season. This is not permanent. Like, that becomes our first thought, because so many people, God has called us away from so many people. And I had to tell her, like, that's why I preach that relationship with God, so that you can confess to God about the losses that you have taken following him. I preach having a relationship with God and being honest about your emotions, because only God can reveal these things to you. Only God can reveal the purpose of why you lost that person, why you lost that opportunity, why he is bringing this new person in your life, how long this, only God can tell you that stuff. Only God can be honest about, only God can tell you, whether this is a person that is going to be in your life short term or long term. But you have to not be fearful of having that conversation. You can't be scared to talk to God about your emotions and about your reservations about stuff. You have to be honest with him. He already knows it anyway, so why lie? Just be honest and have those conversations with him. Stop thinking that God does not care about how you feel. That's not true. Yes, we think that, but that's not true. So I had to tell her, like, a lot of time, because we experience all these losses, we get fearful of God. When we go through battles, when we see the things that the people God takes away from us, when we see the things that they go through, when we experience loss and we experience that hurt, sometimes we have less love for God and more fear of him. I want you to think about what your relationship with your parents will look like, your earthly parents, if you had more fear than love for them. What do you think that would look like? I didn't fear either of my parents, so I don't know how to answer that. But what do you think? And I'm not saying that not that reverence. I'm not talking about that reverence. Because you're supposed to have fear of God. You're supposed to fear God. You're supposed to fear the consequence. That's supposed to encourage you to make different decisions. But I'm talking about if you had more fear than you had love for God. If you had more fear of him, so I'm going to put it like this. My relationship and my love for God is what keeps me in alignment with him and in line with him and in relationship with him. It's not a fear of him. Do I respect him? Absolutely. Do I respect him and have that reverent fear of him? Absolutely. Absolutely. But I do not fear God more than I love God. Does that make sense? I don't fear him more than I love him. I love him. My love for him is what keeps me heartbroken, but still in connection with him. Not my fear of him, my love for him. You have to have that balance. You can't have more fear than love. Hopefully that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. Because I don't know. I just feel like if you feared your earthly parent more than you love them, then when you get older and you get out on your own, do y'all watch stuff like CSI and NCSI and Law and Order, where the people who have mental issues, where they are still scared of their parent. They're grown adults, but they are still scared of their parents. You ever seen that? Y'all gotta watch an episode or something. I hope I'm making sense. I'm finna go on and cut this video off because I feel like I'm not making sense. But you ever see where those people are so scared of their parent? They don't have love for their parent. They have fear. They're scared of their parent. And it causes a lot of mental issues and the inability to connect with people, the inability to have community because you're so scared. I just don't think that's what God wants for us. When God preaches, God says the first commandment is to love him more than anybody else, more than anything else. And the second commandment is to love your brother. He doesn't want us living in a world of fear of him, or living in a world of fear of connection. I hope that makes sense, y'all. I hope that makes sense. Because in no way, shape, or form am I telling people not to be scared of God. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying God is not a robot. And while religion teaches us that we have to be one way with God, relationship teaches us to be a different way with God. And when you have a relationship with God, it's not just fear-based. It is based on love and trust. All of that is necessary to have a relationship with anybody. Yeah, you have the respect for them and you don't treat them certain type of ways and you wouldn't do certain things, but you also have love for them and you also have trust for them. It's not just fear. I don't know, y'all. Hopefully somebody in the comments like drop something like you done seen something about somebody when they have like just respect for somebody, or when they have like that fear for somebody. It's completely different than when you have love for somebody. I'm finna cut it off, y'all. I feel like I'm just talking in circles. But yeah, like some of us, God is pulling us out of that season of survival. And honestly, that season of survival is just, it also includes just surviving on God's word. Survive in a relationship with him. That's why God says when you have anxiety and when you have heavy burdens, to bring them to him and sit and just rest. Trade your burden with God. Trade your burden. That's not fear. That is relationship based. That is God saying, I see you struggling right now and I want you to come into my presence. Is that somebody that you want to be scared of? You want to be scared of somebody who is inviting you to trade your burden with them? And they say that you can find comfort in them? And they saying that you can find peace in them? You want to be scared of that person? Or do you want to love them and respect them and trust them? That is what I'm saying. Loving God is not fear-based. Fear is a part of it, but it's not fear-based. I'm finna go on and cut this word. I'm finna go. I hope that makes sense, y'all, because I feel like I'm talking in circles, but it's just this experience, like, I couldn't experience what I'm experiencing now if I just had fear of God. If I just had fear of him. And I'm not focused on, I want to understand God. I want to understand why I go through certain things. I want to understand. I want to process my journey. I don't want to just go through it. I want to process it. I want to understand it. Yes, I'm still sitting in the emotion, and yeah, I'm still sitting in it. But I can say I have grown a lot from Saturday to today. Just because I allowed myself to be immersed in God's love. I allowed myself to be immersed in God's comfort. And I allowed him to speak to me because my heart is open to it. My heart is not closed to God because I fear him. My heart is open to God because I love him. And I value everything that he says, and I value every experience, no matter how painful it is. So, yeah, I just, like I said, I feel like God is calling some of us out of the season of survival and letting us know that building partnership and being able to trust people and being able to build that community and receive support is what's necessary for the next season. You're not in a season where you just have to depend on yourself anymore. You're not in a season where you have to be the boss and you have to make all the decisions. God is saying he is opening the door for you to receive support for people, but you have to know how to receive support. And sometimes the way for you to know that you can receive support is to ask for it. Some of us are just waiting for the support to come to us. God is saying, no, the best way for me to know and the best way for you to know that you can receive the support is for you to ask for it. For you to open your mouth, for you to humble yourself. Because not asking for it is pride. Not being able to open your mouth when God calls you to is pride. Now, everybody's story is different. God ain't never told me to come up on YouTube and ask for money. I pray that's not the story. I pray that's not a part of my journey. He's never told me to make a GoFundMe. Some people he has. I pray that that's not my journey. But he has just had to tell me to ask somebody for a place to stay. Before then, I never leaned on anybody for anything. I never asked anybody for anything. And now it had me at a point where I would not ask anybody. I would have rather live in my car before I ask somebody for help. Do y'all not see a problem with that? That is a problem. That is pride to the 10th power. That's too much pride. That I would rather, but my love for my son is what caused me to be like, nah, I can't do that. I can't. But that would have been the same thing for me in business. Had I been doing a business transaction, that I would rather fall on my own versus ask somebody for help. That I would rather do my research on my own versus go to somebody who I know knows how to do this and say, hey, can you help me with this? Or can you explain this to me? Can I pay for a consultation call for you to let me know how to do this? I didn't know how to ask anybody for help. And I got to my lowest, the lowest of the lowest, and I finally had to ask somebody for help. And I felt so bad about asking for help. But in these last couple of days, God have dropped on me, you can't help people to the capacity I need you to help people until you receive that type of help yourself. It's a journey for sure. It's a lot. But yeah, I just wanted to come and talk to you guys about that because, again, there are so many of us who live on survival, who are just surviving because we don't know how to ask for help, and we're used to being the superheroes in our family, and so us needing to be saved is unheard of, and we don't even want to play like that. But there comes a time, and if God is expanding you the way that he is expanding me, you have to know how to receive that support as well. So that is the word. I love you guys, and I will see you all on my next one. Y'all, so I am about to post the word that I just recorded, but while I was trying to figure out a title for it, it just made me think about how when God is calling you from survival to community building, you are freed from that season of survival. You are freed from that bondage of having to do everything by yourself, having to do all the heavy lifting, that's a lot of the reason why some people don't go to God, because they're used to having to do all the heavy lifting and having to do everything on their own, right? So I just was reminded of that. But in the part where I was going to say in the title, freedom, I'm reminded of some words that God gave me yesterday to a question that I asked. Now, the first number he gave me was 612, which means an answer. That's in the Strong's Greek Concordance. 1865 in the Strong's Greek Concordance means to gather together. And in the Strong's Hebrews Concordance, it means a flowing, free run, liberty, release, freedom, pure. And so I feel like God is saying, and that's just a confirmation of the word, he's saying you are free from that I don't want to say desire, because nobody desires to be that strong, but you're free from that spirit of having to be that strong. You're free from that that you're free from that season. Yes, God had a lot of us in that season of having to depend on ourselves and having to depend on God. But now for a lot of us, God is saying that season is done with. You are no longer in that season, and He needs you to catch up with Him. He needs you to catch up with the time so that you don't miss whatever support is supposed to come your way. Everybody is not going to be in a space where they have to ask for God to give them support, or they have to ask, not God, they have to ask for support, or they have to ask for something. Everybody is not in that season, right? But some of us, probably specifically the ones who rely on people the less, God is calling for you to, I feel like I said that wrong. The people who rely less on other people, God is calling for you to speak up a little bit more. God is calling for you to be honest about your shortcomings, about the things that you are struggling with, whatever that may be. And I got the TV pause, and I'm watching Grey's Anatomy, so it's season 6, episode 23, and I just feel led to look up these numbers that's on the screen. So the title is called Sanctuary. I'm going to go back to that, but 623 in the Strong's Hebrew Concordance means a gatherer. Further confirming the word that I'm just saying, it means a gatherer or a collector. 623 in the Strong's Greek Concordance means a destroyer. A destroyer, let me see. Let me click this button. Yeah, it just means a destroyer, so Satan. It's paused at 443, which in the Strong's Greek Concordance means a manslayer. And then the Strong's Hebrew Concordance, it means God has given. God has bestowed. And then the time was 36:12. I believe that's how much time I have left on it. Let me see. 36:22, excuse me. Let's read. In the Strong's Greek Concordance, it means stewardship, administration, management, dispensation, managing a household properly, a stewardship, management where a person looks after another's affairs, which again, we're looking at people for support. God is calling for some of us to build community with people who are going to be resourceful, who are going to provide those resources for us. And there was another number that I feel like I needed to look up. Y'all are seeing this in real time. Like all of that just dropped on me, so y'all are seeing me. 36:22 in the Strong's Hebrew Concordance means completion, finishing. Again, that season of survival, that season of not being able to depend on others, God said it is completed. It is finished. You are to move on. All these numbers keep jumping out at me. I'm trying to hurry up, y'all, but these numbers just keep jumping out. And I'm not looking up all numbers. I'm just looking up the numbers that I feel led to look up. This one is 5758, which means desire or a longing in the Strong's Hebrew Concordance. And in the Strong's Greek Concordance, there is no thing. But yeah, I feel like, and again, there were several words that had like manslayer, murderer, Satan. I feel like Satan is trying to keep you from getting that support. He's trying to keep you from getting what God has for you. And remember, the title of this episode is called Sanctuary. Sanctuary means a place of safety, refuge, or protection. You guys, if y'all don't, I'm so sorry I be y'all jumping up, but like I said, this numbers and stuff just dropped on me. If y'all don't know what I'm saying, I don't know what else to tell you. Some definitions of a sanctuary is a safe haven or a refuge, a place that offers protection, shelter, or asylum from danger, harm, or hardship. or hardship. So it's not just somebody protecting you from harm, somebody protecting you from hardship. God is trying to give us support. God is saying that you are done with your season of survival. You are done with your season of not being able to depend on others. God is saying you can depend on others. Now, the other side of that is not to take advantage. Just because God is saying that you can depend on others doesn't mean you still can't work for what you got to have. Doesn't mean you still can't be resourceful. You are not to just sit there and just be asking people for stuff or asking people for stuff and not expecting to pay that back, whether you're paying it back to them, whether you're paying it back to God in tithes, whether you're paying it back to God in your quiet time with God, being devoted to God, now working in a ministry, now giving back to others, whatever it is. Don't be expecting for you to have help now and you not be called to help somebody in the future, or you not being called to help somebody now. My thing is this: one of the things that I was struggling with in this whole season is that even with me not working, I still give back to my community. Me and my son, I'm going to post a video at the end of this, but me and my son about 3 weeks ago, we went out and fed the homeless, because the weekend before that I seen some homeless people rummaging through the trash can for food, and I didn't like that. So we went back the following weekend and we made 8 sandwiches for people and we gave them out. We anytime I have money in my wallet, if I see somebody and I'm led, I give it. Just because you are in a hard season doesn't mean God does not expect for you to still help others or give of your time, give of your resources that you have now. And I think that's big, because a lot of people are always waiting until they get to a higher status or they have more to give more. But God says, make sure you are being a good steward of the little you have. And the little you have, you are still to give. What happened in the story with Elijah? Thank you, God. What happened to the story in Elijah when he went to the lady who was preparing to die, for her and her child to die, and she said she didn't have enough for Elijah, but Elijah said, if you give to me, you're going to have enough. Make some for me, and then make some for you and your son, and you will never go without. And she did so. She gave the last of the little bit that she had, and she never had to want again. What about that story in Luke chapter, it's at the end, it's the last story, it might be 14, but it was the widow who gave 2 coins. And Jesus said, even though everybody has given more than she has, she will be the one who will quickly enter the kingdom of God, because she gave what she had. People just spared some of what they had. She gave all she had to God. God says if you do well with a little, he will expand you. He will give you more. He will fill your cup back up. But he's asking you, can he trust you now with the little? Are you going to be a good steward now of the little? You ain't got to wait till you a millionaire for you to give back to your community. You don't got to wait till you got 3 houses to help somebody in need. You can help right now. I promise you, you can. You can help right now with the little that you have. With the little that you have, you can help right now. So, now this is the last number I'm finna look up, because I just saw it twice. It's on my TV and I just saw it at my phone. It's 953. In the Strong's Greek Concordance, it means to profane, which means to desecrate, to make common or unholy. Interesting. This is illustrated by a person entering a sacred temple who is unauthorized or unfit. I mean, we could say that, what I just said. If you feel like you can't be a part of God's kingdom till you have more, you're not fit for his kingdom, because God has no expectation of expanding us and then we give. God has expectation of us being able to give before he expands us. So if you waiting for God to bless you tremendously before you start helping other people, are you really fit for his kingdom? So yeah, y'all. And also, while I've been going through this, the Beatitudes in Matthew chapter 5, I believe, they have been the verse of the day for all of this. So I think you guys should read the Beatitudes. Let me read that real quick, and then I'm going to get out of here for real. It's Matthew chapter 5, verses 3 through 10. Let's read this. We're going to read this in a New International Version. It says, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they will be shown mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God. Blessed are those who are persecuted because of righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are you when people insult you, persecute you, and falsely say all kinds of evil against you because of me. Rejoice and be glad, because great is your reward in heaven, for in the same way they persecute the prophets who were before you." Y'all, that is the end of my word. God just really added so much more onto that. I'm glad I took that video down so I can add this on there. But yeah, y'all, that's the end of this word. I love you guys, and I will see y'all on my next word.